Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague Jim Patterson. Jim will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of transforming strategic portfolio management with OnePlan's Sofia GPT. This webinar is a new addition to our series of strategic portfolio management webinars, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to watch the others we have on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert, and welcome everybody. The topic of AI has kind of taken the world by storm, and it's impacting a whole lot of different dimensions of life. In our domain that we focus on in the areas of strategic portfolio management and project management, it's transforming us as well. And today we're going to talk about strategic portfolio management and how OnePlan with its AI assistant, Sofia GPT, can help in that transformation in this discipline and make us more effective at what we do in strategic project and portfolio management. So with that, let's get started. So, traditional project and portfolio management has really taken us to a certain point. Over the last couple decades, it really has advanced the capabilities and effectiveness of organizations significantly beyond where they were at those points, where we were doing mostly, scheduling. We were mostly doing project management, and the concept of really advanced portfolio management was really not accessible to most people. Now, typical traditional PPM benefits that have been achieved by implementing just PPM in organizations, here are just some of them. We'd get more clarity and consistency to project management activities, meaning, we had a consistent way of managing and doing them and planning them. We'd help define and pursue clearer objectives so that we could, in a more crystal clear way, define our plan, where we're at on those plans, and then how we're going to get to the end objective at the end of the day to deliver. It will also make our planning on operations more realistic and complete, meaning as we looked at entire portfolios of work, we can see everything that's on our plate and not overlook certain things when we're making commitments and other things like that. Also, the resource management component of this, being able to optimize the allocation of resources to the things that we choose to do, and even try to assess, do we have enough resources to do the things we'd like to do or the things that we're committing to do? Also improving the overall quality of the deliverables by doing better planning, taking on more reasonable workloads, looking at the resource allocation components and not overloading people in ungodly fashions. It can only help but to improve the quality of the deliverables that we put out. And then just primarily, even for the PMOs and such that have very limited charters, just the better visibility and reporting across all the project management and portfolio management activities that are out there was a big benefit to organizations that they didn't have before. Now, that being said, this has only taken us so far. And in this modern age, we need more. Furthermore, these days, we, in this digital age, we require tools that really share the objectives of the business strategists and the leaders of our organization and communicate that and synchronize that with those that are executing those changes, and then measuring whether or not we're delivering true business value. So project and program and portfolio management leaders transforming today should invest in strategy solutions that align with our execution so that we can actually deliver what the organization needs to achieve their strategies and their visions and ultimately have success. To that end, in this new world, the Gartner Group sees strategy and execution alignment as a set of processes that involve people, the strategies itself, and then the operations for executing those things. On top of that, as an overall system, there's the whole process and system of the development of strategies, aligning your entire organization around that according to those plans, the operational plans around that on how we're going to get there and how we're going to achieve, to be able to monitor and learn based on our experience and what we're doing, and testing and adapting afterwards to increase the value by executing the strategy and get better at this as we go on and make sure that we're doing the right things for the organization, not just doing things. So the importance of strategic portfolio management in today's business environment goes even beyond, just strategic alignment. It's about adapting to more complex business environments today. And as we look at more complex things with more variables, more dimensions, et cetera, we have to be able to always manage and have our eye on risk and optimize our portfolios and adjust those and align with the strategic goals that we have so that we make sure that we have our eye on the target and that we deliver things. It's what our customers, both internal and external, want. We have a greater need for financial and resource optimization. Many organizations today are facing budget constraints and limited resources. And actually the resource pool out in the marketplace is getting tighter. OnePlan will actually help organizations identify and prioritize the most critical projects for investment and allocate resources more effectively to help us more maximize the return on our investment and the value that we're delivering. There is also a demand for more data-driven decision making. So with the increased availability of data analytics and tools, there's a growing demand for data-driven decision making. And we'll talk today about how AI can help us even take that to the next level by factoring a lot more things than our human brains can actually analyze and comprehend on their own. And we want to leverage data analytics to get better insights into how our portfolios are performing, but also make informed decisions on how to align, how to adjust, and how to maybe course correct as we're going through the execution of our portfolios. There's also the adoption of agile and other project management methodologies, which makes it harder with the different tools and proliferation of those to really get a comprehensive view of a portfolio. And there's a greater need for effective portfolio management that brings in all of these different tools and all these different disciplines and make sure that all of them together have visibility, but that are also aligned with their strategic goals. By having these different methodologies and tool sets around the organization, it can promote, kind of a siloed type of approach where data is in silos and people and resources are in silos, et cetera. And then there's emerging technologies and business models, meaning in this age of digital transformation, there's new technologies and new demands by the marketplace where new business models are going to create new opportunities and challenges for organizations on how they can meet those needs, how they can interact with their customers, how they can monetize different things in different ways. And the idea is we've got to be able to evaluate ongoingly and prioritize these opportunities to ensure that they're aligned with the overall business strategy and that we succeed as an organization in the long run. So strategic portfolio management, commonly referred to as SPM, the Gartner Group defines strategic portfolio management, as I said, as a set of business capabilities, processes, but also supporting portfolio management technology. You think about all the aspects. When we talked about complex business environments, we've got objectives and strategies. We've got tangible key results for those objectives that we're trying to achieve. We then have projects, epics, feature development, and other things that we have that we're executing on to help deliver on those objectives or those strategies. And we are aligning those things and factoring in things like value stream management. We have products, we have business capabilities, applications, and things that all have to be considered and factored in so that we can achieve overall success. In that, leadership requires strategic portfolio management to support enterprise-wide strategy to execution, alignment, and adaptation. If we're going to succeed as an organization overall, we can't just have departmental fiefdoms with their own priorities about what they want to do for their particular part of the business. If we're going to succeed as an organization, we have to be rowing in the same direction, so that enterprise-wide alignment of strategy to execution needs to happen if we truly want to be effective and hit the mark. The definition of key business strategies to desired business outcomes and the mapping of key portfolio elements. It's not just the projects and the resources anymore, right? We have to align with the business capabilities that we have, and do those have to be addressed? Do those have to be modernized? Our digital and physical products, are those in the proper state for us to succeed as we go to market and deliver things? There are applications and technologies that in their current state, can they help us meet the objectives successfully, or do those have to be addressed as well? And the different projects and epics and things like that around that, of course, that have to be factored in. So once again, there's many dimensions now that should be considered as we evaluate what we want to do and how we execute. We also want to capture and define and prioritize business strategies. We then want to manage the execution of the initiatives and the projects that drive the achievement of those strategies. And then we want to provide full visibility and management of the core functional assets of the organization that we are going to have to leverage in order to actually deliver on the project, and actually to, as part of the project, maybe what we deliver to our internal or external customers. So the key stakeholders in this, you got leadership who sets the direction, you've got IT and or functional management who owns the resources and or the critical assets and infrastructure that we have to leverage in order to be successful. And then you have the execution teams that plan and deliver the projects and the products in the pursuit of reaching those business goals. So once again, a complex landscape that any one of those elements on an island or in standalone can't help us achieve the overall objective. So there's an overall shift in SPM towards enable organizational agility. And because the increasing pace of change today and environmental turbulence and there's strain in organizations because of that uncertainty and that pace of change, we have a need to become more agile and more responsive. And it's driving strategic portfolio leaders to increase the adoption of strategic portfolio management practices. And even, to be quite honest, moving out of the concept of departmental PMOs into more enterprise PMOs or EPMOs, so that we can align these things and have visibility across all the efforts going on in the organization rather than just in certain slices or in silos. And we need to support the tooling and the metrics to help us get there. Now, SPM, according to Gartner, has three key attributes. One is there's portfolio alignment, meaning you have to align with strategy and value-driven decision-making and ongoing portfolio flexibility. We have to have all three of these if we want to be truly effective at strategic portfolio management. Now, Gartner did some studies over the years, and they found that organizations that are highly effective at all three attributes are approximately twice as likely to drive positive business outcomes than those that are not. Now, I would say, as we talk to the marketplace out there, there's a lot of room for growth out here. Strategic portfolio management is still in its kind of growth and infancy stage out there in the marketplace. And there's plenty of opportunity for that. So if you're not doing all of these things today, don't dismay. You're not alone. The key findings Gartner has come up with that only 16% of organizations are highly effective at all three key attributes that are identified here. Okay, so there's a lot of room for growth across the entire marketplace, not just what you're thinking about where you're at. And a fragmented approach, like I said, siloed approaches to doing these things can have a cost. It can lead to excessive cost due to conflicting priorities, redundant processes, and even misaligned goals, and duplicating efforts even on the same things or the same projects in different parts of the organization. And the other part about strategic portfolio management is that if we don't keep our eye on the ball strategically of where we want to go as an organization in the future, where we're headed, we can get very bogged down in the busyness and the crisis mentality of the current problems at hand and overemphasize those local immediate needs and just get consumed with those. And it unintentionally pulls us away and the whole enterprise away from its overall strategic objectives. So having an SPM approach helps us keep an eye on the ball and make sure that we don't fall into that trap. Now, OnePlan has been designed to provide a path to strategic portfolio management. And notice I said path. It is a complete solution for the enterprise, but not everybody's ready to tackle all of these aspects at one time. On the strategic part, the business leaders, the ability to put strategies and objectives and key results in place so that help be the guidepost for the rest of the organization on what we should be striving for is part of the solution. The execution leaders have the ability and the tools to manage a variety of projects and initiatives, regardless of the type, more adaptive, whether it be more waterfall or more agile types of approaches, professional services automation for like services projects that we have to go out there and deliver to external customers and bill, purely agile approaches that are used in software development, product development, etc. The execution leaders have those tool sets right within OnePlan. And then the functional leaders, the ones that actually own the enterprise architecture, the one that own the applications, the business capabilities, the product management function. All these things have to come together to achieve successful strategic portfolio management and overall strategic outcomes for our organizations. I just want to reemphasize that OnePlan will meet you where you're at. You don't have to be done in order to get started. You don't have to be fully mature at strategic portfolio management in order to get started with these disciplines. Most people take a phased approach. and tackle certain parts of these disciplines and the ones that are highest priority at first, and then adopt and incorporate the others as they need to and as they want to and as they're able to. So we can take a crawl, walk, run approach to this. Now, OnePlan gives us the ability to do a lot of different things. So for example, if you think about from an end-to-end process, just on the intake and the initiation side of things, be able to have a strategy in place with objectives and key results that are the guideposts for us. Having an enterprise architecture where we have additional portfolios of things like applications and products, business capabilities, maybe even value streams that we want to align ourselves with. Those things are all available to us, as well as ideation and requests that come in, because whether they be your internal or external customers or other folks in your organization, ideas are always going to come at us of things we should do. And we have to vet them, we have to prioritize them, and establish the value, whether we should incorporate them in our execution plans and our overall portfolios moving forward. And once we have all these inputs, I would say, the planning part, starts at the top down with the portfolio managers and be able to do portfolio planning to help prioritize and select and execute on the things that we want to be working on, the things that we should be working on, and be able to look at them in more traditional views like you see here on the screen. Maybe more agile folks want to take a more of a lean or agile approach and manage their portfolios from more of a board perspective. Or maybe the more deliverable and product-oriented types of folks want to look at roadmaps and a little of those, but it's the same portfolios, but different perspectives to be able to take on those things as we analyze. Capacity planning. Can we reconcile what we want to do with our ability to deliver resources to fulfill on those? And do we have a plan that exceeds our ability to deliver, hence putting us at risk of not succeeding? Financial planning. Can we reconcile this with the budgets and the dollars that we have? Not just the resources that we have, but the dollars that we need to spend. And can we fit that within our ability to deliver dollars on these things? As well as what if scenario modeling. As I mentioned, things change on the ground. Circumstances change, priorities change, customers change their minds. The idea is, how do we evaluate scenarios and understand alternatives we have at our fingertips to make the right choices and make that kind of data-driven decision making that we want, that we talked about earlier on the slides. On the execution side, then we have to be able to take what we've decided to do and execute on them well. We have to be able to build work plans, whether they be in a more waterfall fashion or maybe more of an agile, backlog, and sprint-based fashion, to be able to build plans in a variety of different ways. And OnePlan gives you the ability to do either or a combination of both within one initiative or effort. We also have the ability to not only plan within OnePlan, but if you're committed to other planning tools that are out there today, whether it be Microsoft Project, whether it be Azure DevOps, whether it be Jira, whether it be Smartsheet, we can incorporate the data from those plans and have them automatically roll into your portfolios and continue to use those tools of choice, but feed into a common portfolio management solution. Even adding in the dimension of things like issues, risks, and change requests, et cetera, within that context. Now, on the resource management side of things, we talked about capacity planning at the portfolio level, but on each individual project and or initiative, the ability to plan your resources within each of those individually, yes, have them roll up to an overall capacity plan, but be able to not only request resources, but also have the people that are responsible for those resources to be able to fulfill, but with what specific resources we can have through resource negotiation. Those capabilities exist right within OnePlan to do those things. And then it all flows down to the team members that ultimately get assigned to these things. To have a my work area where they can see everything that's been put on their plate, possibly even be able to prioritize or see what's been prioritized to get an idea of what they should be tackling first, and provide feedback directly into the system back to leadership and to the people that are managing those efforts, as well as time reporting. If people need to capitalize labor or charge back to others in the organization, or even bill out to external clients, that timesheet is built right into OnePlan. So once again, you don't have to go anywhere else to do that. And on the analysis side of things, the executives, to be able to provide them status reports as a natural output of the process, not compiling these things manually every reporting period from, in PowerPoints or whatever it is, to have them be generated on an ongoing basis and even keep histories of them so that you can do trending. Dashboards, whether it be portfolio level, whether it be program level, whether it be project level, even down to resource level types of reports that you have, be able to get those at your fingertips is something that's a natural output as well here in this solution. And then visualizations. We talked about the complex interrelations of not only the strategies, the projects and programs themselves, the enterprise architecture elements that have to be factored in, to see how those things are interrelated and see the things that you're related to or associated with or dependent on, and see the status of those things very readily and see what might be putting you at risk, helps us not only track how we're doing, but even make some good decisions on what we should be saying yes to because of the dependency of the relationships that are there that we can see very readily. Ultimately, the outcomes are the products, the services, the applications, the business value, the overall benefits realization that we want to get in order to do this, why we're doing it in the first place. Now, the primary reason why, and the title of our webinar today is artificial intelligence. So yes, we can do all those things that are above, but we can also supplement all the capabilities that we used to do totally with our own human effort and intelligence capability. We can now augment with an artificial intelligence assistant, which we've named Sofia and Sofia GPT within OnePlan, and it's available to you at all times while you're working within OnePlan. Ultimately, between our own efforts and the efforts of Sofia, we can make sure on the upfront side that we're doing the right work, that we're selecting the right things to work on, and that when we ultimately select them, that we do the work well, that we do the work right. Now, all this applies across the enterprise. Whether you have an ePMO in place or you're more siloed or departmental in these regards, OnePlan is applicable across the entire enterprise. We have different templates. We have different use cases pre-built that can be used for a PMO, for an innovation or transformation program, for your overall information technology needs, application and product development, professional services, sales and marketing, even operations. So these things are not limited to just IT, for example. The idea here is that the capabilities in here can be leveraged by anybody in the organization. Now, the integrations we talked about, these are pre-built connectors that are available to connect to the more popular tools in the different genres, whether it be work management or scheduling tools, software development or agile tools, your financial systems, any ideation system you might have in place, your CRM system for professional services, et cetera, service management. The idea here is that you can be connected and have these things flow in automatically to an overall central portfolio hub in OnePlan without having to do all that manual stuff that you're probably doing today. And the idea is you can work with this where you want. OnePlan is designed to be used in your favorite browser, but in this day and age, sometimes people have environments that they're working in with other solutions, and OnePlan has a fused UI solution strategy that allows you to surface and leverage OnePlan within Power Apps in Microsoft. It's an authorized Microsoft Teams application so that you can actually use OnePlan while you're in Teams along with your content and collaboration. You can use it right within Azure DevOps. Not only do we integrate with Azure DevOps for the work management and the tasks and the projects, et cetera, you can actually use OnePlan while you're working in Azure DevOps. Same thing holds true in Dynamics, same thing holds true in SharePoint, as well as even non-Microsoft tools like Jira. We have a capability to have extensions to use OnePlan while you're in Jira itself. So that brings us to Sofia GPT. We like to call Sofia AI as a collaborator, and it really is a revolutionary new language model for strategic portfolio and work management overall. And it is based on Azure OpenAI GPT, which is Microsoft's version of that's out there, not necessarily the general open internet chat GPT that you have out there. So it's got the Microsoft's security and compliance and protections around that. This module, Sofia, has been developed to revolutionize the way people manage their strategic portfolio and work. It understands natural language, responds in real time, and we'll show you some of that today. And it can be used to streamline the strategic planning. It can be used to help you in your decision-making process, and even to automate some tedious and time-consuming tasks. So it not only leverages data from Azure OpenAI's large network of data sources, but also from OnePlan itself, such that it understands OnePlan, it understands the discipline of strategic portfolio management, and in any view that you're in, it can incorporate the data in the views that you have there and add it to the mix so it can give you some suggestions and decisions along the way. So Sofia GPT comes with OnePlan. So if you're in our Enterprise Edition of OnePlan, if you'll notice there's an icon in the lower right where Sofia is always present. So depending on what part of the solution that you're in, you can ask Sofia questions in context of that portion of the solution and get some guidance in that. And as you do that, you can make natural language queries against that and get answers as you need and to help you and augment things. And we'll give you some examples in this today. But ultimately, what are sample use cases for AI and strategic portfolio management? Well, there's in the strategic planning side of things. So the objectives and key results area, portfolio optimization, as we're trying to formulate and coalesce a portfolio together of the right things to work on, help us make the right decisions. The work management, help us on the execution side of things as we're building plans and helping us build plans, helping us optimize plans and make us more efficient there. Risk assessment, it helps us identify and mitigate potential risks in their project portfolios, maybe help us things that are on the horizon that we may not see so readily with our own two eyes. And then resource allocation can help us optimize resource allocations and suggest resource allocations based on the type of projects that you're working on. And even financial analysis, helps us organize project costs and budgets and maybe analyze how we're doing on a cost basis as well. So these are just some of the use cases. And I will say, Sofia is evolving and learning and doing more things over time. This is still fairly early stage, but it's still providing great value. So with that, I thought I would jump into a demonstration of OnePlan. Let's just start with the idea that I'm going to show OnePlan today just in a normal browser. I'm in Chrome today. And every user, regarding what role you have in the project and portfolio management process, has access to a home page. And I'm logged in as a fictional Daniel Williams here today. And I have a number of things at my fingertips. One is insights into things that require my attention. You can set up insights in here and whether or not the plans you have are compliant with what the organization needs. Plans where status reports are due, or where you have tasks to approve, where you have some tasks that are due or overdue, status reports you might need to do or approve, and even some timesheets that you need to do or approve. These are the types of things that could be brought to your attention in one singular place. It gives you access to all the plans that you have access to within this solution. There is a robust security model in here that allows you to determine who can see and do what within the solution. But instead of going to a big portfolio of things, it lets you focus on the things that you're currently involved in and get to any aspect of those plans right here from your homepage. It also gives you the ability to take a look at what's maybe coming up, what's due soon, what's overdue, etc., and get a quick look at that, as well as the ability to look at recent conversations around the plans, the tasks, and the resources that you're involved with in this whole project and portfolio management process. So you have one hub here to get you started, no matter whether you're a team member on a project, or whether you're a portfolio manager, or whether you're an executive. There's a place to go where you can get all that information. Now, we talked about strategic portfolio management. So let's just start out with my strategy area of this. And this is where we can outline in this case, we're using a objectives and key results hierarchy where we've got objectives, which are the overall strategies, and then the key results, which are the tangible measures of your progress against that. And in that, we can build a number of objectives and then some supporting key results that'll help us determine whether we're physically making progress towards achievement of that objective through some tangible measures. So for example here, in this increased project success rate, if I drill into this, we can model this the way we want. In this case, we're putting characteristics around this. We've got a schedule or a time horizon which we'd like to do that. We maybe have some financial objectives and return on investment. We even have some prioritization mechanisms that we might want to use. And then more importantly, associated key results. There are 3 key results that are associated with this particular objective. Now, at any given point in time, and I'll show this several times during the demonstration today, I'm looking here at an objective, a higher level strategy, and I can at any given point in time get reporting and or what we call visualization. For example, there's no dependencies I have, no precedence logic that I have against this particular objective. But in this, I have in this runway, I look at all the relations, and I'll get to these other areas of the solution here as part of the demonstration. But notice this objective, all the things that it's related or secondhand related to. For example, I have the 3 key results that are driving whether or not we achieve this strategy. Each of these key results is aligned with certain projects and or epics within our solution. So far, so good. They're all looking green. They're also associated with certain products, applications, and business capabilities. And in this case, I believe we're looking at value streams that they're associated with as well. And I can see, for example, which products might be in a yellow status, et cetera, as I look through that and I go through all that. So for example, if I want to get into and drill into a specific project and I go to implement project and governance work, which is a key result associated with this, I can actually just go through a quick edit or go directly to it, and I can pop open the details around this. And if it was off track, I could drill down and see why it's off track and what areas are amiss in the details around that. So the details and the associations around that are something that are important. Now, if I want to, I could just drill right from here into the details of this particular key result or any aspect of that as I go through this. So as I go into the details of the key result, you'll see that in here, I've got some key result metrics. So for example, I can choose whether I want it to be a number, a percentage, a dollar, or nothing, a non-specific metric, and basically look at a target number of, in this case, the target number is 100, and I've achieved 75 units of that, meaning I'm 75% complete on this. I can also look at which plans or projects are associated with this particular key result, as well as any enterprise architecture items, in this case, an application that's associated with this key result as I go on through. Once again, I could visualize that at any given point in time, right? Meaning that I could go in here and I could see, once again, from the key result area, I can see there actually is a dependency that's dependent on me here, but I can also see all the interrelations from just this key result to me. Upstream, it's definitely the objective, but then these are the specific projects and epics that are associated with it as well. So the idea here is that we can set the course with these objectives and key results, but as we'll see throughout the application, that you can actually relate these to the other elements that you're managing within the solution itself. Now, let's go into the next part of the funnel of this intake side, which is the ideas or the requests area. So OnePlan gives you the ability or a portal to bring all the ideas or requests that you might have into one central place where they can be vetted and evaluated. And you can prioritize them, you can assess them, you can give them attributes, you can align them, you can do all the different things that you'd like to do. So for example, if I drill in here and I go down and I look at the website redesign here that we're considering. In this particular case, much like what we look with the objectives, there is a details page, for example, where we can describe what it is we're looking to do, build that business case. We can put the characteristics or attributes around it, like what type of project it would be or what type of effort it would be. We have a decision-making set of stages or phases that we would go through on this idea or request. And, you know, from this as well, you can look at the associations down below here as we talk about prioritization mechanisms, the financial aspects of what's going to be required. And we can see here we're actually related back on this idea back to a key result that it would support. So as we go through here, once again, you could go in here and visualize how this is related to everything else like we did before, but not to be redundant, I'll just go in here and just let you know that at any given point in time, we could come in here and reorganize this element such that we could come in here and at the appropriate time, either through workflow or through somebody with permissions doing so, we can then take these ideas or requests and we can promote them to projects or epics or other things like that without having to rekey that information, meaning we can take this idea or request, we can put it through its vetting, through its analysis and its approval process. And once that approval happens, we can promote it into a project, into the actual project portfolio. So those types of things are all available to have a seamless end-to-end process in here. So this is probably a good time to stop, since this webinar is about Sofia GPT, and stop and see that we have Sofia here in the lower right. Now, for example, if I came in here and I'm in this prioritization view and I'm looking to do some analysis, you know, we give you some common questions that would be asked here, but let me ask it a question right now. And I'm just going to kind of ask its assessment of, based on priority and ROI, what 3 projects should we approve and why? And so I'm going to put that into the question here, and it'll think and analyze based upon not only its knowledge of the disciplines of OnePlan as a tool and the discipline itself, but also based upon the data that it's seeing here in this active view. It's not learning or storing from this, but it's leveraging this data. Now notice here it's saying based on the priority and ROI, the top 3 projects to approve are, it tells me number 1 is cybersecurity audit because it's high priority. The expected benefits far outweigh the cost, has the highest prioritization score, and its potential impact on cost reduction, employee retention, and risk reduction. Considering the importance of cybersecurity in today's business environment, this project should be prioritized. And it's going through and giving me its assessment as I'm looking to approve these projects. What does it think based on its analysis that I should actually choose? So once again, it's giving me some pretty verbose rationale behind all that as I'm looking at doing this. Pretty slick. So as we go from ideas to a project portfolio, and we go look at the project portfolio, this would be the initiatives and the projects that we're working on. Now, you can structure your portfolio any way you like. We have a portfolio structure here where I've got different portfolios at the highest level. I've got programs within the portfolios, and then within the programs, I have projects and epics, which indicate primarily waterfallish or primarily agile-oriented type of projects or efforts that we have going on in here. As I look at the portfolio and I expand this out, you'll see that I have the programs underneath the portfolios, and then underneath here, I've got a combinations of projects and epics in here. You'll also notice that I've got different views here. I'm in what we call list views right now, and you can have a variety of different list views with different columns of data available to you. But also notice that I have icons to the left of here. Now, we talked about bringing in data from a variety of other tools. You have options here within the same solution. For example, I've got a project here that's linked to a Microsoft Planner. I got one that's linked to Azure DevOps for a plan, one that's linked to Jira, one that's linked to Microsoft's new project for the web, one with Project Professional. And I have some here that are just linked to Teams for content and collaboration, meaning that the schedules or the work plans are actually being managed directly here in OnePlan. So once again, flexibility to meet the needs of the user, but getting things together into a comprehensive portfolio. In this summary view, notice here that I've got this primary hierarchy based on the plan types. But let's say I looked at more of a flat view of all my projects and epics, and to say more of a summary view. I could actually come in here and I could slice this by any data or metadata I have around my projects. For example, let's just say I wanted to look at this portfolio by, not by the primary plan type hierarchy, but I want to group and summarize it by the business unit. So now the capital planning group is working on these 3 projects, and these are the totals around those. You know, here what's going on in marketing, etc. And just at a at a glance, I could say, let me look at this by who the managers are. Maybe, and hence the project managers. And the manager around these, I can go in here and take a look at this slice by manager and basically go in here and say, it looks like Daniel Williams is managing 9 projects right now. How are his projects doing? It looks like on balance, they're not doing too bad, but one of them is off track right now from a financial health perspective. You could look at them by different categories, for example, and say, as you categorize your projects, the categories that I have in place for these lists are, oh, here's the business transformation and the compliance projects, and here's all the innovation projects that we're working on, et cetera. Once again, you're only limited by your imagination on how you'd like to do these things as you go on through, okay? Now, on top of that, for the more agile-oriented people, we do have board views. And so, for example, if I go in and click onto the board view, same project and portfolio level data, but now I'm looking at these things in terms of more Kanban style cards. In this particular case, I have a board by state, meaning I've got the proposed, the active, the closed, and I also have what we call, limits that are put on here, such that I'm saying that, I had a limit of everything that's proposed, limited to $3 million, and I'm now over $3 million. It's gone red. I had a limit of $10 million in the active. And there's now $15 million worth of stuff in there, meaning that it's going over. So we've got some things that we can track in that regard. As I go and look at this, I could if I go look at this, I look at the market research one, I can see that it's red because it's color coded by status. If I wanted to look at the quick edit around that, because you can only show so much on a card, and I go to look at that, I can come in here and say, why is it red? And in this particular case, I can go and drill down here and see that it's, as I go through here, is that the overall status is red because the schedule health is way off track. We're okay on resources, we're okay on dollars, we're okay on issues, but it looks like we're just off schedule. That's why this thing is red. So the idea there is that you can look at these things in a variety of ways, and you can even add different lanes for perspective. So even though I've got the primary things by state here, I can come in here and say, let me see some swim lanes. And in those lanes, let me say, maybe I'll do the lanes by that category, for example. In this particular case, as I go look at this by stage, I can see this is the process improvement projects we have. And there's a bunch of active stuff in there, strategic projects, compliance projects, etc. And I can work with this as cards, and these are, navigatable to go through different places as we want through the different views in traditional Kanban style. Okay. Roadmap views. As I go into the different roadmaps, you can see here the default that I've got coming up here is by business unit. So now it takes this portfolio data and give me a classic roadmap view, showing me where these fall in based on our different quarterly program increments and where they're going to land and fall. And then down below here, you can see where they are by their different business units as they go on through. Yes, we can access any of the details around that like we did in the other views. We can get to a quick edit, we can drill into the project, etc. But the idea here is that you can take different views in here. So if I group this by something different, for example, let's say once again, I'll just group it by category again. But the idea here, now I can see a roadmap in a different perspective with different swim lanes based on categories, for example, and all those types of things. So once again, you can drill in and do all the things here from a roadmap view if you like working in this type of perspective. Now, on the portfolio side of things, let me go back to the list view, and let me go to into a summary view, and let me ask Sophia a question about this. Okay, let me go in, open up Sophia, and based on all the things that are going on, the things that are active, the things that are coming on board, let me ask it, which 3 projects are at highest risk of failure and why? Let's see what it comes up with based on the data that it has in here. Once again, it's looking at its sources of data as well as the data that's currently being displayed for you within that. So basically, it's telling me that market research, once again, we saw that and we looked at it because it was red, has an off-track status, and it has other issues on that as well, and is making the overall, the different factors included make it one of the highest risks of failure in that. And so the idea is it's giving us rationale so that we can take a look at, maybe take a closer look at the things that we think, that it thinks are at risk of failure. Now, if we go back to a hierarchical portfolio summary view, once again, notice how quickly I go back and forth to different perspectives on this. And I go into, drill into a particular project. I'm not going to spend too much time on the tactical part of this, but once again, you can have detail pages in here that allow you to categorize and characterize this the way you want, get access to the data that you need, have associations with the elements in the rest of the system, whether it be the strategies, the objectives and key results, the applications, the products, etc. All that stuff can be done in one central place and managing in a phased or staged methodology as well. In this, you can also go in and have different work plans. I won't go too much into this today, but just be aware that you have a work plan capability where we have different work types. We have more waterfallish type schedules that allow us to manage in a waterfall fashion. You can show these with or without the Gantt chart representations in there on these. You can even connect this to another tool. You could build this right here within OnePlan using templates or from scratch. But you could also connect to other tools. Right now we have these enabled in this environment. Smartsheet, project for the web planner, project professional, etc. So those things come into play. You can build an agile backlog in the same plan if you wanted to, and actually have derived that from another tool or build it right here. So as I look at the backlog in here, I see I've got requirements, I've got some user stories in here, and I can even put those and build sprint plans in here and associate different things with different sprints as I go through this. So I can build that all in here. And for an Agile plan, I could come in here and connect it to Agile tools if I wanted to, like an Azure DevOps, a Jira, etc. And then we can even track things like issues, risks, change requests, key decisions, etc. right within these work plans. So be aware that you can do all these things. We have the ability to do resource planning around this, meaning full resource plans of generic named individuals. You can plan in teams if you want to, and do all those things. And you can plan in terms of hours, percentages of effort, FTEs, whatever perspective you'd like to look at it by. And as you go through this, you can go, figure out what you need and even look for candidates to substitute for different people as we look for best matches around. For example, if it looks like Peter's over allocated here, could I find resources that are a good match to be a replacement to get him off of this particular project or not? Okay. The other piece is the financial planning. Now, this can be fed by the resource plan on the labor part of it, but it gives you the ability to build detailed financial plans in here for your project. In this case, I can have a budget, I can have a revised forecast, I can have actuals, I can have revenue and or benefits, and I can track those things on a very granular, detailed basis. And I can even compare things like my budget to my forecast and look at how we're doing now compared to where we thought we were going to be. Track budget versus actuals, etc. We can even, come in here and, as I mentioned, status reports can be something that are done on a more routine basis, where the system would automatically create a status report, give you a place to put in your narratives that you want to put in here, so to fill that out. And then as you submit these things, it will actually store those and store a history of them so that you can keep them and use that data for trending reports as you go through, and put this out even to external folks. It'll be a PDF, Word, or you put it out in the body of an email. So those types of things help us get a little further down the road. When we get into more of an execution webinar, we'll talk a little bit more about using Sofia to help us build project plans. But today our focus is going to be on the portfolio level types of things. Now, on the resource plan, we talked about the resource plan within an individual project, but now we have a resource plan that aggregates across all projects. For example, so I could take a look at Daniel Williams. He's overloaded because he's on all these different projects all the way on through, okay? As we do this, I could maybe even look at this by resources by role to see how we're doing on a role basis, and to see whether we're over and under allocated on a role basis as we go through this as well. So for example, as I look at the developer ranks and I see some over allocation there, I can see that I still have generic developer things actually assigned. So I have not put names to these things yet. And I've got people like Ehrlich that are overloaded right now because of the things that they're on. In this particular case, I can actually look at the developer role and say, on this customer experience, maybe I can take him off of that. And maybe I could decide who's going to do this. And I can maybe find some candidates for that with our candidates match. In this particular case, I can look at this and I can see, looks like Toby Stevens probably has availability in the time frame I'm going to need for this particular project. And I can actually replace the generic with Toby. Or I could do the same thing if I took Ehrlich off of something he was overloaded on and put Toby on because he's got available bandwidth. So I can do these reconciliations right within OnePlan itself. Okay. Now, if I go back to just an overall summary view and wanted to ask Sofia a question that's resource related, as it looks at the mix of things that I've got going on here, I could ask it, what resources do I need to hire? And it'll assess that based upon the information that it's got in our overall resource plan. And it's telling me where I need based on the provided data and what I need. So it's given me an overall analysis here on what I might need. I might say, how many of each resource. Let me see if it gives me some quantification. This one's telling me I don't have enough information to give me that, the developer resources on this. But once again, I can ask it, but it tells me where I have overages, and it's basically giving me an idea where my hotspots are. So it's giving me some further analysis, even when it couldn't answer the direct question that I had. I think I'll finish up with the modeler. This is that what if capability that we have within here. Now we can create new models at any given point in time by selecting different groups of projects from different portfolios and do what if analysis around here. So for example, if I go and look at, say, the IT projects, and I want to create a model of potential projects I want to consider. In this particular case, this model is considering 36 different potential projects or efforts that I might want to work with, okay? And I can run different scenarios here. For example, notice in this scenario, when I start, everything is selected here, or the checkboxes here off to the right-hand side. To save a little bit of time, when I did some selection of projects to fit within a $10 million budget, out of those, these are the projects that were in, and these are the projects that didn't make the trip when I actually only had $10 million to spend on those particular projects, okay? I can also look at a variety of different things around that. For example, in that, if I wanted to look at the financial aspect of this based on this scenario, I can go down and look, and let me look at the current year numbers. And in here, I can see that for this $10 million limit, that this does fit within $10 million overall, and even fits in farther with this with just $2024. But the idea here, it does fit within the $10 million budget. Now, if it didn't, I could deselect other projects, right? And it would actually, reduce this amount down here dynamically. I could actually show a Gantt chart up here, and I can determine potentially, the timing of these things and say, okay, maybe there's a proposed project here that if I'm trying to get the budget down, maybe I can just move this out and have it re-rack the dollars down below, okay? The idea there is I can save these different scenarios and have different perspectives on this. In this particular case, if I looked at a $15 million scenario, I can see here that with $15 million, I can actually have a scenario that fits within that $15 million, but now I'm doing many more projects for that and compare that as I go through this. Now there's an analysis between these where I can go look at these things and see between the different scenarios. For example, it looks like at a high level, one of the key things that strikes me is that for another $5 million in investment, it looks like there's an estimated additional almost $20 million of benefit I can achieve if I can get that just additional $5 million of investment. It might be worth me trying to find that money. And also I can do 27 projects instead of 17 for that additional $5 million in budget. And here is where I could compare, say, the $10 million with the $15 million and compare them such that I can look at what's been selected in and out in the different scenarios and what that means for the prioritization scores of each of those as we go through our prioritization ranking, I should say. We can also look at that in graphical dashboards as we go through this as well. And I would say this, the same thing holds true with our visualizers here, where we can take a look at here based upon what's been selected and not selected in here. Say, for example, I look at this $10 million and I see what didn't get selected. I can come in here and take a look and say, maybe these things that were unselected, if they're important to overall success of something else, maybe I should reconsider and put this improve IT infrastructure in, for example, as I go through this. So once again, I get a decent detailed analysis, as well as the traditional bubble chart analysis says, okay, here's what I selected. Where does it fit in a matrix of prioritization versus benefits? And even be able to overlay, for example, things I didn't select to make sure I didn't overlook something as I go on through. So once again, Sofia could be used here in a way that would allow me to, come in here and say, in the modeler, I could say something like, what projects should we consider moving out to in and why? So once again, is there something that's now out that we should consider moving in? And what would that be if we did that? So the customer experience redesign project should be moved from out to in because of its the timing and is relevant because it focuses on improving customer experience, which is crucial for the business, aimed at understanding the customer's needs, etc. So the idea, once again, at all aspects of the project or of the solution, we can use Sofia to help enhance our decision making as we go on through. So with that, I would just say on the enterprise architecture side of things, we can have other portfolios in here that allow us to align with, say, product portfolios, business capabilities, applications, value streams, and all these things that you saw in the visualizers were associated with the other elements of that. We can go into that on another day. So with that, I would like to go back to the slides and give a wrap up. You'll see some different use cases for Sofia in the slides when you get them on the resource, the risk, and other side of things. So you'll be able to look at those and see what other possibility ideas that you might do on those. But from a summarization and next steps perspective, what we went through is strategic portfolio management has become important in today's business environment. Hopefully you've seen that the increased complexity and fast pace of change requires enhanced method and approaches, and OnePlan can provide this in an end-to-end solution in the Microsoft Cloud. Now, OnePlan can meet you where you are and enables a crawl, walk, run approach to attain this, no matter where you're starting from. And we heavily use AI to provide valuable assistance in becoming more effective with this as you go on through. You know, we do this for a living. So the ability for us to do this is recognized by Microsoft, where we've been either their global PPM partner of the year or the finalist in the last 5 consecutive years. And we're also recognized by people like the Gartner Group and Infotech Research for the work we're done, as well as some other analysts as well. Try us out with free trials. We have a strategic portfolio management template out there for a trial. So go out to OnePlan Solutions or to Microsoft's App Source to get that. And then take us up on a free trial roadmap workshop if you want us to give you some analysis from where you're starting to today, what it would take to get into a solution like this. Or we can go into a more detailed, personalized one-on-one demo for you. Just contact us at the email there below. So I'd like to thank you for your time today. I know we're up against the top of the hour. Appreciate you taking the full hour with us. And we look at OnePlan as a hub of all this information. We call it the power of one. Thank you and have a great day.